Welcome to Conversations with Loulou. My name is Loulou Khazan. I'm an entrepreneur living in Dubai, an investor, a mother, and your host. My guest today is Cedric Betis. Cedric is an athlete, he's an entrepreneur, and a long-term health and wellness advisor for His Excellency Mohammed Al-Gargawi, the Minister of Cabinet Affairs for the UAE. So health and wellness have become center stage, especially after COVID. It's no longer a tick in the box. And there are very few health and wellness experts like Cedric that are working alongside government officials and business leaders to help them create healthier environments for themselves, their companies, and their city. You can learn more about Cedric and his company Becan on my website. You can visit conversationswithloulou.com and check out this episode and read more about it. Before we continue, I have some pretty good news. So the show is now supported by Astrolabs. Astrolabs is a digital building capability company. Basically what they do is they help you scale your business. And they have a special offer exclusively for the listeners of Conversations with Loulou. You get a 500 discount on any of the courses offered by Astrolabs Academy. They offer courses covering social media, digital media, machine learning, coding, and more. So you can get an exclusive discount of 500 dirhams through Astrolabs Academy. There are also other discounts on the services that they offer, from company formation in UAE and in Saudi and co-working spaces. All you need to do is visit the link astrolabs.com/Loulou, and Loulou is Loulou, to get your exclusive discount. So once again, you can visit astrolabs.com/Loulou to get your discount. For now, let's tune in to Cedric. You know, when we were messaging on your WhatsApp, you have a photo of you and His Highness Sheikh Hamdan jumping obstacles. So why don't we start with this? How does a Frenchman ends up working out with excellencies and princes here in Dubai?
It was a wonderful journey and amazing experiences. I've been living in Dubai for the last 20 years now, and somehow I felt in love with the country, I felt in love with the culture, and now I can really say that Dubai is home to me. It was very important for me to have my two daughters being born and raised in Dubai, so now it's on their passport. Born in Dubai, and for the rest of their life they will be connected with this beautiful country. And yes, it was beautiful experiences, and I think it's all about connecting and meeting with the right people. It's all about interaction with others, and I've been blessed to count amazing friends around me, a lot of UAE nationals.
But you're an athlete, right?
Yeah, I study sports and sciences. So I was really since a little boy, I was just really into physical activity, climbing trees, being in the mud, and going home with a lot of bruises. My uncle actually was a professional kickboxer. He was part of the French team. So sports, physical activity was always in the DNA of my family, and somehow I've been groomed to look after myself through fitness.
You work a lot with government. You've been working with His Excellency Mohammed Al-Gargawi since you came here, correct?
Yes, so actually I've been blessed to get to know His Excellency, and actually everything started in 2007. At that time, His Excellency was at Davos, at the World Economic Forum, and he has discussion with other amazing leaders on how to fight the rise of chronic conditions through corporate wellness initiatives, and that was an idea that struck into His Excellency's mind, and somehow he found me. And
you were at Davos?
I was not at Davos. I was
okay.
I was in Dubai, but I don't know how. Somehow I received a phone call from his offices, and His Excellency wanted to meet me. And then years after, and then basically he appointed me to turn his vision into action, into business reality, and that was so in 2007 during his tenure as a chairman for Dubai Holding. So basically, under his vision and under his leadership, we formalized the first comprehensive corporate wellness program in the Middle East, which was very innovative at that time.
Okay.
So, but all the credit obviously to His Excellency and how he brought this concept of wellness to this part of the world.
So when you say wellness, just briefly for the benefit of everyone listening, what does wellness cover today? Because I know there's many aspects to wellness.
So this is a very good question. I mean, traditionally there is different wellness dimensions, and the common one that people understand is the physical wellness.
Yes.
And it's all about physical activity, it's about healthy nutrition, and it's about sleep also. But there are other dimensions such as intellectual wellness, with how we can stimulate our mind to learn and to discover new skills. There is the social wellness also, or social well-being aspect, how we can create healthy relationship with others, with family members, but with co-workers.
Okay.
There is the spiritual wellness, the financial wellness. So there are different wellness dimensions, and obviously based on the vision of leaders, based on the visions or the specific requirement of the organizations, you will have dimension that will be more core, more primary, and other dimension that might be secondary. It's very difficult to tackle all of them in once.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because you're part of the Dubai Future Council for Health and Wellbeing. So there is a council at a national level that is looking at everyone's wellness and health. So what kind of items are on the agenda of a council like this? So what is the Dubai government looking at?
So those council were an initiative from His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, and they were very forward thinking. So basically there is one council on health and well-being, but there are other councils on AI, transportations, and so on and so on. And the role of those councils is really to shape the future and look at innovative ideas on how we can really, in our specific field, which is health and wellness, how we can come up with innovative idea for the good of tomorrow. So basically it's all about strategy development, it's all about reporting, but much more than that, it's all about also implementing activities, strategy, having an impact on Dubai.
Can you give an example? Is it events? Is it like before COVID, we used to have a lot of these events in Dubai, fitness on the beach and yoga on the beach, and you have all the races. Obviously, you have the Dubai Marathon. Is this what we're talking about, or we're talking beyond that?
It's beyond that. So obviously, in the Health and Wellbeing Council, there is the health component, and it can be, for example, how we can enhance the techniques for heart surgery, for example.
For?
Heart surgery, for example. So it could be at that level, so something very specific to specific interventions. How we can enhance that through AI and through robotics and all these innovations. But it could be something a bit more holistic, and now we're entering into the wellness fair, is how we can, in order to avoid heart disease or heart conditions, how we can really support the populations for adopting healthy behavior so that we can prevent or reduce the amount of stroke, for example.
Okay.
So it's very broad, and obviously with the council we're working on different aspects.
Okay, so what's going to happen post-COVID now with health and wellness? Is there something that you can share with us? Is it going to be? Are we going to have to learn to live with it, or is it going to be over behind us?
In my side, I look at it from a business standpoint and from a wellness standpoint. I think COVID-19 was an accelerator of the biggest business transformation that we ever seen in the last decades. It's becoming more and more normal now for people to work from home or to work remotely. Flexibility is becoming the norms now for every organization. I mean, it's happened so suddenly that we didn't have, or companies and leaders didn't have the choice than only adjust very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And obviously they realize now, and leaders realize, that the health and well-being of their employees is paramount. So before, health and wellness or corporate wellness was kind of a tick of the box, initiative.
Nice to have.
It's good to have, it's nice to have, it's kind of having a band-aid, but now they realize it's essential for companies to flourish. So I strongly believe that wellness initiatives are going to stay. Wellness now are more and more part of the business framework of organizations. Similar than the HR department or finance department, now you will see more and more wellness department with chief wellness officer or head of wellness, or depending on the specific title. But wellness is a business in general. And when you look at business as a whole, it's a $4.5 trillion industry. So wellness is a business, and obviously wellness is essential as individuals. So when we talk about employees, sometimes we forget that they're not just employees, they are people. They are husbands, wives, they've got kids, they are friends, you know, so they've got their own life, they've got their specific requirements, specific obligations, their own challenges. So now more and more companies are looking at employees, not just as employees, but as people.
Part of your work is you advise governments and you also advise corporate clients. So when you work with corporate clients today, what is the main concern that they're trying to tackle? So you said companies need to be agile, we need to change the way how we look at our employees and so on. But can you give maybe some examples of what are companies trying to address today?
So many issues, for example, as employees, we are operating in a specific setup, which is the office environment.
Yeah.
And obviously it's all about the office ergonomic, for example. If you spend a lot of hours on your chair, you might have some back problems. So we also look into this specific aspect. You're having lightings that might create some headache also. How we can make sure that the lighting is the right one. For employees, it's about air quality.
So you look at all these aspects personally through your consulting work.
Exactly. So it's how we can make sure that employees are working in a very healthy environment or working environment, so that they can thrive. So again, it's all about the setup, which I call it the office well-being, but it's also about nutrition, how we can make sure that employees are fed with the right food at work, how we can educate them, because if you have a very heavy meals, high in carbs, high in fat, maybe after your meals you're going to fall asleep for half an hour on your computer, and it's not something that we want. So healthy food option is very, very important. Physical activity also, how we can make sure that employees are much more active during the day, and that's not just for them to feel good physically, but also mentally, how you can distress and relax from work. How we can stimulate the brain also, how we can stimulate the curiosity so they want to learn more and discover new things. So this is back to the well-being that I mentioned that we just discussed earlier. So my role as an advisor and as a strategist is really to set up obviously the overall strategy, what's the vision, what's the wellness visions, what does it mean for the leaders of these companies, what should be the governance structure, who does what, so wellness needs to be handled by a specific ecosystems, which are the key well-being dimensions that we want to focus on, emotional well-being, physical well-being, intellectual well-being, and then how we can deliver that. But also what's very important is about KPIs, how we can assess the success of what we are doing. So as we all know that we cannot change what we can measure, so it's very important also to track that, to make sure that we are successful in everything we are doing.
So you work with large companies, right?
I work
so
with
it's not the small companies.
Yeah, usually it's large company, governmental and private company. At the moment I'm the wellness advisor at the Dubai Future Foundation, working closely with Excellency Health and Wellbeing. I'm also the wellness advisor for Expo 2020. So this is what I do as from a corporate wellness standpoint.
I was chatting to my husband. He works for Apple. Apple obviously is a big company, and he was telling me they have a company-wide fitness challenge where they all have to, they have nearly 20,000 teams competing to close their rings, and there's benefits and rankings. Yes. Is there something like that happening here?
Yeah, so basically, something which is very important, it's improving the level of physical activity among employees.
Yeah.
And the common, let's say, barriers that people are mentioning. Oh, I don't have time, it's too hot, it's too cold. There is always, it's too somethings always.
Yes.
But movement, walking, everyone can walk, So you don't need to go to the gym, you don't need to lift weight.
Yes,
you need to walk every day.
It's too hot, that's the excuse.
Always, there is always some things. It's to this or less of that,
Yeah.
But walking, everyone can walk. So basically what we have established, it's called walking challenges for employees. And much more important than that is not just challenges, it's wellness KPIs. Meaning that for the Dubai Future Foundation, for example, there is a specific KPIs of employees that is part of their performance appraisal systems.
Okay.
So every employee needs to complete 10,000 steps a day on average.
It's part of their appraisal.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about, embedding this concept of wellness within the business framework of a company. It's not something nice to do. It's mandatory for employees to complete those 10,000 steps a day on average, and this is part of the wellness KPIs.
So are you personally with the approach of, like, because you spoke about corporate clients kind of embedding these fitness plans, let's say, into appraisals and so on. So are you personally with the idea of making it almost mandatory, or are you personally of the view that we need to be more patient and we need to wait and educate and train, etc.?
It's a very good question.
Like, how do you actually instill change? Do you have to make it happen, or you have to wait?
It's sort of about it is an evolution or a revolution. So it's really, really difficult to change habits, to change people's lifestyle. It's very difficult because you're dealing about culture, you're dealing about habits that you got since childhood.
Yes.
So it's tough. Look, ultimately, we need to educate employees. And this is a top priority, to make them understand why it's very important for them to look after their own health and well-being. And then as an organization, we need to create an ecosystem, an environment which is supporting healthy behaviors. Now, how to do that, how to motivate employees, it's always $1 million question. And people react to different triggers, So some people, it will be, they just want to look good, which is very primitive and pragmatic, but it's a reality also. Some people, they want to feel good, it's how you feel, For other people, it will be about socializing with others, with colleagues. It might be, I just want to have fun also, maybe, you want to discover new skills also. So wellness means different things for different people. And as an organization, we need to focus on different triggers to tackle that. And some people, maybe, they will react more to specific rewards. It could be financial reward, it could be something which, an appreciations.
Is there something that works more than others from your experience? What works more?
If there is 100 people, there will be 100 different answers and requirements. But ultimately, I strongly believe that you need to create a specific framework. And that's some of the failure that I saw with specific organizations, that they look at wellness or the wellness of the employees as a kind of team building activities.
Yeah.
They do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. You don't see any real improvement. You don't see any progress. And that's why sometimes corporate wellness initiatives, they've got not a good reputation. You've got a little bit of a budget for that, and let's do whatever they want to do.
100%. I think probably that's the biggest challenge. Because maybe the companies themselves don't take it seriously.
Yeah, or they don't know.
And as you said, they put in a little bit of budget. Let's do a team building activity, and that's it. But it's beyond that.
The box, and it's much more exactly. So that's why it's very important, and that's what I do with those companies, is to have a clear visions and have a strategy that support the vision. It's extremely important.
But you need buy-in. Like there has to be full-on buy-in from the leadership of this
100%.
company. It's not going to work.
You're so right. It's a leadership by example, and obviously leaders need to believe in the values of employee well-being. That's why also it's very important to develop.
They have to be fit themselves, maybe.
100%, 100%. That's why it's very important to create an executive wellness program. And this is how we started with at Dubai Holding, So we created, before developing a fully fledged wellness program for the company, we have created an executive wellness program for all the executive chairmen of the company. And on a monthly basis, there were a set of KPIs that I was reporting to His Excellency Mohammed. So this is how we started, to make sure that the leaders understand the values of being fit, both physically and mentally. And then when those leaders really understand and have been through a specific process, a specific experiences, they will be much more supportive. So it's really, as a human being, we tend to stay in our own framework and being comfortable. It's very hard. You see people that are proactive and that they want to get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
So we need to take employees through a specific journey, through specific experiences. Similar than with our kids, you learn through practices.
Yes.
If you don't know, if you don't experience it, it's okay.
Anyway, I think the Dubai government has been amazing. I don't know, probably more active, unless they have better PR, but they're much more active physically than you feel the private sector. I mean, you see Sheikh Hamdan, cycling with entrepreneurs. You see him in the Spartan races. You see people from government, doing the marathon or doing other activities. So they're really forward thinking, or fitness is quite important, clearly.
100%. I think fitness, sport, wellness is part of the DNA of Dubai, and we are very blessed to have leaders. Obviously, Sheikh Mohammed also is an athlete in horse riding. He's a champion. Obviously, you mentioned His Highness Sheikh Hamdan also, which is a champion, and he likes to discover new activities. So it's the only country.
It's nice to work with people like that.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's the only countries in the world that I know, that I'm aware of, where the leaders of these beautiful countries are really fitness champion. It's unbelievable. And then what's make Dubai very unique? It's the very unique mindset of its government. Traditionally, innovations all around the world come from private organizations. In Dubai, it's not the case. The government is an incubator of innovation, is an incubator of talent. They are breaking boundaries, and when we say impossible, it's not in the vocabulary. It's true, and it's not just beautiful words. They live and they make it happen. Pushing the boundaries on a daily basis.
So I grew up in Lebanon. Sports. I mean, we don't really have sports at a competitive level. We have, of course, some breakthrough individuals that are quite resilient, and they invest in their training and so on, and they make it to to competitive sports. But it's not part of how we grew up. So I feel it's the same here. I have a feeling, or even maybe across the region. Whereas in Europe, for example, and in the US, it's part of like the DNA to be into sports from a very, very young age, right? And it's accessible to be able to compete. So how do you address that, for example?
Well,
like how do you get young people active here?
More and more, yes, correct. And I think the key HDA and the school are doing a fantastic jobs to really make sure that physical activity is part of the cursus of kids, because it's very important to embed these specific activities at a young age, because at specific age you're going to learn motricity, then you need to develop coordinations, then you need to develop agility. So based on specific age, you're going to develop and focus on specific skills. And if you don't do that, if you don't learn that at a young age, then it's going to be very difficult as an adult to master that. Let's say if you don't learn cycling, at a young age, try to teach a 30 years old
or swimming
to ride a bike or to swim. Yeah, exactly. It's really difficult. Possible, but difficult. So you're right. You need to start at the early age. But going back to the corporate wellness world, in Dubai, we have a very active population. And when I mean active, it's people that work. So the majority of people living in Dubai, they are working. So the workplace naturally is the perfect setup to institute behavioral changes. And again, it's not just about physical activity. Physical activity is one of just component, but again, it's about educated employees to look after themselves mentally also. It's about how we can stimulate their mind to learn new skills. How you can also become a little bit more curious, how you can think differently, how you can develop your cognitive skills, your interpersonal skills.
So give us some examples, like in terms of because you said it's not much more than the physical well-being, it's also the mental well-being, and it's all over now, right? I mean, mental mindfulness and all of that, meditating. Even my watch pings me, 3 times a day. It tells me to breathe. I look at it and I don't do it. What's wrong with us? We have something at our wrist telling us, it's time to breathe, and
it's just we're bombarded by stimulus all day long. You've got so many notifications in your phone. So we really need to learn also how to disconnect from technology. So technology should be an enabler, something that makes life easier, better. But quite often, as human beings, we have a tendency to abuse systems and really to push the button. So phones now, mobile device, it's becoming something which is, instead of adding value to our life, creating some issues. To an extent that now there is a retreat for individuals that are addicted to phones or to social media. So they go to a specific retreat, they spend fortunes on how they can detox from technology and social media. It's crazy. I mean, look at kids also those days, you know, you've got children and they spend, if you leave them, they spend hours and hours on their tablet, and then you ask them to do some creative activities, painting, drawing, or climbing trees and playing outside. They don't want to do that anymore. So this is a role as a parent to educate their children to disconnect from technology.
So how do you do it? Give us, I mean, you're
I hit them very hard.
You're the expert. So tell us, how do you do it? You have 2 children.
Yeah.
So how do you keep them active?
It's a tough battle, but as a parent, you know, we need to put some guidelines and boundaries. So for us with my wife, it's all about, we agree together that it's no more than 1 hour a day. And on the weekend, it's 2 hours a day.
With the tablets?
On the tablet,
yeah.
And that's it. And the rest of the time, we want them to play with, you know.
But you take them, because I feel like with my children, I feel that, I don't know, I feel that children are very sensitive to like their role models, right? And what they do.
Yes.
So I think that if you want to get your kids active, you have to be active yourself. A little bit on the business opportunity in wellness. So you said it's a $4.5 trillion industry globally.
Yes.
Technology is definitely coming in fast, especially post-COVID.
Yes.
So where do you see are the opportunities maybe in this part of the world for entrepreneurs and businesses that are looking to, for opportunities in the healthcare sector?
Yeah.
Are there any recommendations or areas you feel are ripe for disruption?
So now there is a lot of opportunities in our field in the wellness sectors, especially through app now. Obviously, it's all about how we can have solutions that can make us more aware on our existing current health conditions. How we can anticipate issues. So there are plenty of apps now and more apps in development that are going to focus on that, on how we can improve our physical and our mental capabilities. Preventive medicines, I think it's going to be more and more mainstream now, and again more and more adopted in the years to come. And the reason is that we individuals are going to have much more control towards that. It's not doctors anymore, it's us. We're going to have a better control towards our own health and well-being. And obviously AI and digitalization and apps going to play a big role.
Okay.
So startups, yeah, obviously there is, I mean now there are thousands of startups that are working.
Because now, like, from what I see on the healthcare side, at least in this part of the world, I see a lot of like telemedicine, basically, especially with COVID when people couldn't actually go see a doctor.
Yes.
I've seen mental health startups, basically, but I haven't seen like technologies that are, integrating maybe more and more with people, or even on the hospital side and on that front.
It's all about something very interesting, and I've been in contact with few companies. It's all about the after, meaning like telemedicine is very important. So you've got a diagnosis from the doctor, and then what? So when you've got some specific conditions, who's going to help you to fix that? So it's how you can really connect the service providers with hospitals and doctors so that can better support you. So it's the preventive aspect, but also it's how you can deliver specific services to help you then live a better life. So everything related to physiotherapy, to nutrition, physical activity, sleeping, and other disorder that you might have needs to be a bit...
Sleep seems to be a big area now.
Sleep is, look at my face, I don't sleep enough. I'm the one that needs to sleep
more. I was going to say, you look great.
Not at all.
That's because you were training.
I just trained this morning, yeah. And that's helped me, exercising at least to be alert and kind of focused during the day. But sleeping is the most, let's say, underrated kind of wellness notions, There is some stigma related to that, if you... And napping, having a power nap, it's fantastic, when I was in, my mother is Spanish, and when I was kids, we used to nap, and I hated that when I was kids, but now I will pay to have some nap, to an extent that companies like Apple, where your husband is working, they've got this nap or sleeping pod. They have fitness nap classes, believe it or not, in New York, there is some studios where there is specific bed and with mattresses and cushions. And when you go there to sleep for 45 minutes in a group environment, because people need to sleep, you need to restore your vital functions and to refresh your mind also. So also sleeping, it's I think some things that gonna really grow in the years to come.
Yeah. What else other than sleep? What is like an area that you feel is underrated and now it's becoming more mainstream, or it's really important?
Look, there is the basic, which is about movement, physical activity, which is about nutrition, which is about so we talk about sleeping, socializing. But something which is a bit underrated now is reconnecting with nature, which is very important. As human, we used to live in the wild, in the outside world, and reconnecting with nature is becoming, or it's something very, very essential, you know. Touching the grass, the sand, having the light, you know, the sun on our skin.
Is this something good for the mind, or?
Yes, it's very good for the mind. I mean, when was the last time you've been walking barefoot on the grass, you know? When was the last time you really feel reconnected with earth? These are also some human needs, and obviously living in a fast-paced city like Dubai, or you go to New York and London, Paris, all these big cities, and more now there is this movement of people walking barefoot in parks, you know, because it makes them feel so much better and much more grounded, and really it's kind of a therapy, you know. So instead of spending money against to see a psychologist, just remove your shoes, spend some time outdoor. Vitamin D, obviously, which is something that we all need in this part of the world, is very important. So spend as much time as you can outside. Gardening also, you know, looking after plant. So all those things is not just being outside, but it's again reconnected with nature. You know, when you look after plants, obviously you nurture them, you see them growing, you put them some water. It's like little babies, you know, and it feels good when you see them growing gracefully, and it's, you know, it makes you feel happy.
So what's your advice to all of us regular folks that are, you know, maybe want to get somewhere but don't know how to or unable to?
It's all about, you know, how life, our health is very, very precious. And quite often we are very reactive. We only responding to episodes. When you're sick, you realize that, you know, like you really need to look after yourself, and you can have a family, fame, fortunes. If you're really, really sick, I mean, stuck to your bed, this is irrelevant, and you will pay everything you can to feel better. And it's really, really sad, because this seems like a beautiful words and beautiful talk, but it's a sad reality. And I saw so many people around me passing away because they were careless with their own health and well-being. So it's not going to be perfect, but you need to look after yourself. Then it's something different to you and me. You need to create your own ecosystems that will support your own aspirations, and that will make you feel better physically and mentally. And all of that needs to be driven by the notion of pleasures. What's the point to go to a gym or to be on a treadmill if you hate that? What's the point to eat salad every day if you hate that, you know? So you need to find something that stimulates you, that makes you feel happy, that makes you feel good. And, you know, it could be dancing, is playing outside with your dog, whatever it is, you know, disconnecting from obviously social media technology, even from your husband and from your kids, having some personal time just for you so that you can reconnect with yourself. Because sometimes we forget that we are also individuals. Yeah. We're not just mother or fathers or parents, or, you know, we are us also. So it's very important sometimes to look after ourselves. It's not being selfish, but if you don't feel good, how can you give good things to people around you at home with your family members and at work? So that will be my 1 dirham advice to people, is to be a bit more organized with their own health and well-being, because most of us are well organized at work, you know. We follow things by the book at work. When you've got a meeting, we go to meetings, we're on time traditionally. When you need to deliver something, we're doing it. What about our own health, which is extremely important also? We don't do that.
So maybe we need to align our own set of incentives, or, you know, because at work, you know, if you don't go to the meeting, you're fired.
Yeah.
Right, so, or your livelihood is at stake there. But with your health, maybe it's that. Maybe it's finding that right incentive. Yeah,
whatever works for you. Maybe it's to buy this new dress that you always wanted. It's a bit expensive, but you deserve it because you've been looking after yourself. Maybe it's having a nice pizza, you know, on the weekend with your kids, and, You know, you reward yourself, and it's very, very important. So again, people, they're gonna react or be motivated by different trigger, but it's really, really important to you know, to focus on yourself, and I'm keep also I cannot emphasize more on the notion of pleasure. It needs to be fun, it needs to be enjoyable. You know, if it's something that you hate, it's not going to be sustainable. Do you want it or not? How bad do you want it? It's in you. No one can do it for you. You know, it's the only thing that you cannot outsource. It's your own health.
Okay, just one. I want one word or
Okay.
2 word answers from you. Just 4 questions. What's your best workout song?
My best work. Oh, at the moment I'm into like a old school hip hop song.
Old school hip hop.
Yeah.
Okay. Any specific song?
No, I'm into.
Like Dr. Dre, like these
Yeah,
types
it's
of-
Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
You know, those kind of very, very old school.
Okay. Guilty pleasure?
I don't feel guilty, you know, that's what I mentioned. That's why I don't feel guilty at all. But again, pancake, I love pancake, I love ice cream, you know,
Okay.
so it's on a weekend for sure I will have one of them,
Okay.
100%.
Do you have a favorite book or a book that you'd recommend for us on the topic on wellness?
I should read more, you know, I'm not a good reader, but recently I read a book from John Senai,
Okay.
and it's it's called The Future How, and he has another book called The Future Now. Fantastic, and I had a chance also to interview him about his book, and I was blown away, you know. So that's
Is
something
it
that I
on
will-
wellness or something else?
it's about not just wellness, but about you know, the future, how the future is going to look like, and how we can also flourish in this future. Very pragmatic, very simple. There are short book, ebook. You can find it online. You can download them.
So the future how and the future now.
Yes, yeah, from
Okay.
John Senai.
John
Fantastic,
Senai.
yeah.
Okay. Any regrets? Biggest regret?
No, look, it's part of experiences. You know, sometimes we do silly things. Sometimes we wish that we could have done things differently. But ultimately, it's who we are. You know, Professor Gilovich from Cornell University used to say we are the sum of our experiences, and it's so true. We have good experiences, bad experiences, and hopefully we learn from them, and you know, and we grow. So, no regret, no.
Good. Okay. Any kind of overlooked workout that is very kind of simple but very effective?
Stretching.
Stretching?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I never
Stretching.
stretch.
It's so important. You know, quite often.
Before or after?
Before doing some kind of ballistic stretching, but mainly after. And quite often, you know, we spend a lot of time sittings. You wake up, you know, you have your breakfast, you sit. You take your car, you sit. You go to the office, you sit. You've got meeting, you sit. Go back home, you drive, you sit, and so on and so on. So quite often we've got back pain, and usually back pain is nothing to do with the chair. You can have the best ergonomic chair in the world. It's not going to help. But because you spend a lot of time sitting, that hamstrings start to contract and to retract and to get shortened, which pull the pelvis inside, and the pelvis going inside push your lower back. So what we need to do is to stretch. So we need to relieve tension from our hamstring and from our glutes in order to release back pain. So one thing is very important for people that listen: if you are suffering from back pain, stretch your glutes and stretch your hamstring. How? Just how we do it now. Sitting, put one leg in front, just bend over. You put your ankle on your knees and just bend over. And this behind your desk, no one gonna see that. Okay. And you do that every day, 20 seconds one side, 20 seconds the other side. Like you stretch for 2-3 minutes every day, and you're gonna be safe. No back pain ever. I can guarantee you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Cedric.
You're welcome.
That was great. Thanks for all the insights you shared. Thanks for coming here.
It was a pleasure being with you. Thanks again, and look after yourself.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Conversations with Loulou. I really hope you enjoyed it. As usual, your comments and your feedback is extremely helpful. You can reach out to me for guest recommendations, for collaborations, for sponsorship requests on conversationswithloulou.com/contact. You can also follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter at Loulou Khazen. I wish you a great day and see you again in a few weeks.